Welcome to Advanced Nurses. We connect with nurses who inspire other nurses by sharing their experiences. And so we're able to bring that information to you.
And what I noticed is, so the DRG for sickle cell is 811. So whenever I see an 811 in the queue, because of AI, it is computer generated, most of the time it's right, sometimes it's not. But if I see an 811, first thing I do is look at the name, and if it's a name that you know. And not but there's a lot of times those patients will sign out AMA because they're not getting the pain medicine that they need. And nobody is dealing with it.
Wow. And to your point, though, I definitely understand your telling people that there's so many different options, and I agree. Hence me not working in the bedside, but we still need us in the bedside.
We have to be,
because where you gonna go when you get sick? And if we continue to in droves leave the bedside, then we're kind of, there's no representation there. So that lack of cultural competency
and advocacy
is, and so when you get those sickle cell patients, the implicit bias thinking, okay, just here to get pain medicine. That ain't it, Or like we saw in the film, sarcoidosis was the patient that dealt with that, and how the doctor didn't want to you people, So we definitely still need. They don't need me. They need some other nurses in the bedside. But yeah, we definitely. You're right, But we need people that want to be there too, and not there just for the check, because we see that, and the disparities don't get lessened.
But we need a support system to keep them at the bedside.
Well, and I would say too, because the people who are passing, or they're good test takers, but not necessarily. Yeah. So, is there a way we can test emotional intelligence or how you truly interact with patients? Like, can we make that as high on the bar as your test score instead of it's just you pass the test?
I don't think they're holding institutions accountable for the lack of cultural competence within their curriculum. So it's like if it's not there, it doesn't matter. Now, of course, can we put that on the same level as like sterile technique? I mean, we should, if you think about from a safety perspective. Because if I
both kill.
Right, just like that patient with sickle cell. If you want to look at it and say like, oh, well, why would we worry about the person's race? Well, because there's a human being coming into a room to take care of another human being, and they're looking at that human being as being drug seeking. And so what is the first thing they're thinking about? Oh, you just want some drugs. And I've seen that happen so many times where I'm like, so you can see that that person is drug seeking. You can see it. And I mean, really denying pain medication because of this risk of drug seeking behavior. Oh, they're going to sell it on the street. Why do you care? Why do you care? No, totally not our call. Give them the pain medication, manage their pain so they can go through the therapies, treatments, or whatever they have to get well and get back to their life like we would do for everybody else. So it is unfortunate.
They can see that this sickle cell patient is drug seeking, but they can't see the nurses they work with. It's stealing.
Ooh, child.
That's a whole other.
Sleeping on the med cart.
I work somewhere, the lady was found in the bathroom with the needle in her arm. A nurse.
And it happens. It happens. It happens. Oh yeah, we won't go all the way there. Yeah. So we do want to talk about some solutions before we wrap it up here. I know for me, with my organization, ACD Plan, it is focused on nurses who are interested in health informatics, nursing informatics rather, and just away from the bedside, helping nurses transition and explore other options away from bedside care. But like Deasa did point out, we still do need nurses at the bedside, just not me. Ashley, would you mind sharing for us some solutions and organization that you, let's say, you're a part of, or that you want to promote for solutions for nurses?
Well, Deasa's organization, the Black Nurse Network.
Take my solution.
Oh, well. But The support, like you said, one of the things, another challenging thing is nursing school is not cheap. So not only do you have tuition, but you have to get to and from your clinicals. You got to worry about the food you, like lunch, breakfast, that's not covered when you're there. It's 12 hours, you don't get paid. It's uniforms, stethoscopes, we have so many of that extra stuff too. So I think schools need to look at covering that sort of thing too to make it more equitable. Just advocacy. So Clarice is a part of my nonprofit organization. So we actually in May, I think we went to the State House and were able to advocate for mom's mental health. So just trying to find advocacy groups, Black nursing groups, and even outside of the Black nursing groups, trying to get into the regular nursing groups, because we usually aren't in those regular nursing groups because there is so much racism, but even just like the American Nursing Association, and Pennsylvania probably has a Pennsylvania Nurse Association. Mm-hmm. But we need to get in those too, because we need to be in those rooms, making noise in those rooms too, not just our, so.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you both have just said, the support systems, and listen, we want to take this documentary and everywhere we can. So that's definitely, I think, one of our solutions. And we need a team, so we need to spread this out. Again, this isn't about us. It's about how can we improve the systems, because people are dying. We look at maternal and infant mortality and health. Black women don't make it out of the hospital after giving birth, if they're able to give birth. So those are really important things, and they affect us. So I'm gonna root for the film at this point to get that as far and wide as we can. I know there's nursing schools here. We are willing to come back. Or figure out a way to show it. But yeah, we need to get the message out.
Yeah, we definitely see you at the universities and within these hospitals, because like you're saying, we cannot afford to deal with this like it's something in the past. Because I think it's tempting. It's tempting to think that this is something from the past, and that we are not going to have these issues and these conversations in real time with our own experiences. And that's the sad part of it. But this film helps us to know that this is a current issue. It doesn't matter how sophisticated we get. We integrate technology and all this kind of stuff that seems to bring the conversation further away from these issues, but these issues are ever present, and the pattern is still there, the end results are still there. And like you said, and I think you mentioned as well, we're kind of winning and losing as far as Black people in our experience with healthcare systems. We're the highest in cardiovascular disease. We're high everywhere, but we're losing. It's like we're winning and losing, and we do need to address the issues around racism that contribute to that.
And it's not just for nurses. I think people think when they see a Black nursing documentary, but this is affecting you and you. You don't have to be a nurse to be affected, because you're still part of the healthcare system in one way or the other. So we need people that aren't nurses to see this as well, so that they're even encouraged to advocate for themselves if you feel uncomfortable. That was a nurse that was saying that she was fighting for her life when she was delivering her fourth child. And that was a nurse that was saying she couldn't breathe, but she was just being told that it was her anxiety, calm down. This is not, they don't care about, I don't really go anywhere and tell people I'm a nurse.
I never
Definitely don't say it.
I like to misbehave first. I like to misbehave.
And I just, because I think it changes how the dynamic, how you're being treated, and I want to know how you treat everybody, because if I couldn't be there when my grandmother was in the hospital, I need to know how you treat her. So, yeah, this is not just for people that are nurses. This is for all of us.
I agree.
So, are we talking about organization or research?
Organizations and whatever else you would like to share.
Well, I wanted to say first that any area of nursing, because there are roles that are bedside and there are roles that are non-bedside for nurses. Anywhere you have to be a nurse, you're going to face resistance. There's going to be a wall, at full stop. And when I left the bedside, I saw a whole different type of wall. but it's still a ball nevertheless. So my company, the Coding Nurse, I started it because I had left nursing altogether, but I kept my license. I had left nursing altogether. When I got into medical coding, I was working as a barber. I got a barber cosmetology license. And I was like, I'm never going to do that again. And one of my friends who was a nurse was like, well, you need to apply for this thing called HEDIS. And I kept applying. She was like, it's going to be hard to get in. You're going to have to keep trying, but when you get in, you'll be good. And she was exactly right. I mean, this side is good. And I was like, I can't believe it. And nobody knows about it. I mean, I was telling my friends, I'm like, well, what about this? I've never heard of it. And because of COVID was a game changer in a whole lot of areas.
Oh, yes.
And it's a way if you really, you can get some paper. If you really think about it, how to monetize and market your skills. So that's what I did. I'm like, well, since people don't know about coding, and my job had to be a nurse. Like they only hire nurses at first. So I'm like, well, these people don't know. And voila, the Coding Nurse is here, and it's been 4 years, and I'm, starting to get contracts. But I still just want people to know that you have an option. And I do have people who reach out who are in school. I want to go into coding. You can't come in my program. You have to work first. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing about it. You have to have some experience in order to really, for it to make sense of you to really be, especially if you're going to be a nurse. Now, if you're not a nurse, it's a whole different story. But if you're going to be a nurse, work in it, get the experience, get your feet wet, work, move around. I moved around and everything. They let up there and work, and I was there. And then you find what works and what doesn't work. Then when you want to step away, you have such a wealth that you can draw from. So when you're reading a chart, okay, it's not totally foreign. Okay, well, I know what that looks like, or I know what the patient that will have this, will have. So it makes you better. So but my takeaway from tonight is support. And I just know that even me, I need to do more to help people who are in nursing school stay.
Well, I want to thank everyone who's here this evening. Again, thank both Deasa Dorsey and Ashley Glass. That's me, waiting. The QR code that is going to be up here on the screen soon is the QR code. You can scan it if you'd like to get in contact with me. Hello, I am the educational consultant with Advanced Nurses at ACD4N, and I have the pleasure of being with the Coding Nurse. So if you follow my channel at all, you follow any of my platforms, Instagram or my channel again, I love speaking with the Coding Nurse. The Coding Nurse always has something up his sleeve. He's always embarking on something new and different. But I wanted to do a quick review because actually the Coding Nurse was one of the panelists for the film screening, Breaking the Silence, a Black nursing documentary that was presented by Black Women Cultivating Change. He was one of the panelists for the film screening and discussion event. And I just wanted to kind of get some thoughts from you, like regarding some of the topics that we did dive into. I know you had highlighted something I thought was really important. It's big for me, at least, as well. The idea around us supporting each other and really being able to put ourselves out there to be kind of like a beacon for one another, especially as we see younger, new nurses coming into profession. We see a lot of the patterns not changing and kind of like wanting to kind of encourage those nurses, hey, you can get through this. We are getting through it. We're survivors, and you can get through it as well. So what was some of the I guess, something that you wanted to share regarding that event, or something that you're doing now, in light of the film screening or things that you learned from that event?
All right, so first, I want to thank you for having me again. And secondly, I just wanted to say that the documentary was mind-blowing. Like, I walked into it with no expectation. I had heard about it because I knew someone that had attended the screening in Ohio, but she didn't go into what it was about. So I really had no expectation, but my expectations were exceeded because first of all, like the history of the Black nurse is really, like all Black history in this country, is really underplayed and not really given its proper place. So this documentary certainly gave a voice to those who have come before us and paid homage. But my main takeaway, which you had alluded to, is support. Like we have data that shows how quickly new nurses are leaving the bedside, and for a number of reasons. And I'm quite sure that if they drill down, I'm quite sure that there's a lot more dissatisfaction with Black nurses and nurses of color in their first few years of nursing. And my main takeaway from the entire documentary was how we have to support each other. And if we really think about it, all of us have gotten where we are in our nursing careers, in our, healthcare journey as a source of employment through support.
This is so true. Yes.
So and I think that we as Black nurses and as Black people in healthcare, I think we have to think about extending our reach further down and starting to offer that support to people who are in nursing programs, to people who are in pre-nursing programs. Because what one of my takeaways was from the panel is that how many people get discouraged even before they get into the program. And then even afterwards, so you need that support so that young nursing student can know, yes, I can make it despite what this person that's standing in front of me, who oftentimes doesn't look like me, tells me that I can't do it. I have a whole team of people who are just like them who are telling me that I can.
And I think you're making such a good point, especially around, being able to look at the patterns of support that help each and every one of us arrive to where we are, and how that reaching back to that new nurse, or knowing, or even reflecting back to what that looked like when we had our first, big boy, big girl nursing job. And it's like, oh crap. Now I'm out of nursing school. I don't even have an instructor, whether they were not the best instructor or not. I don't even have an instructor telling me that this is safe or not. I passed my boards, I have my license, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that everybody's expecting me to know. And so that's just a reality that all nurses truly experience. But like you said, I feel like Black nurses have the added burden of overcoming the stereotypes of being, less intelligent, not as well spoken, or there's assumption that you are taking a guess at something, where we all could be taking a guess, but It seems like your guess as a Black nurse is going to be the one that's going to carry the most risk. And so therefore, just those messages that we often even have playing in our own minds as Black nurses, they find their way when we're providing care for the patient, where sometimes we're second guessing ourselves. If you don't know what you're doing, new as a nurse, we all felt that way. That's nothing for you to feel shy about. But I feel like when you're Black, it's, again, that added pressure to show yourself as being competent beyond the stereotypes of your group, which is interesting because that has nothing to do. One would assume that it has really nothing to do with medical or nursing. It really has something to do with those societal pressures that a lot of Black nurses have to overcome. I think the thing that also, I said it during the panel discussion, but it's always amazing to me when you're talking to nurses. We had one panelist that just became a nurse, you being a nurse for 30 years, me being a nurse 13 years, another person there, I forgot how long she said she was a nurse. I think she said she was a nurse for 14 years, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
And we all had the same experience. We all observed some injustice where we seen a pattern of behavior, whether it was coming from an instructor that looked like us or an instructor that did not look like us. So race wasn't necessarily the main factor, it was just really a similar experience that as a Black nurse, you feel that you have to prove that you belong there. And it's interesting because when you think about nursing, it is an experience where you're going from not knowing to knowing. So when you don't know, it's okay. Now, yeah, you do need to know that you are good, like making judgment calls. But if you think about the fact that we have nursing programs that, 18 months, I mean, there's so much information that you do have to know to be a safe and prudent nurse. And it should be expected that that person is not going to master all that information, but by the time they finish the program. So why should someone have that unusual amount of pressure that they feel that they have to get it all right in the beginning? And again, I don't think that, from what I observed, this is an experience that everyone has. I feel a lot of people feel like throughout, they can go to the very end and fill their boards over and over again and still feel very confident that they can be a nurse. Whereas I think for us, when we make that first wrong mistake, it could be, mispronouncing a medication or a diagnosis, and we just feel like, we start second guessing ourselves. Am I in the right place? Is this the right profession for me? And that is concerning, and that's something that we need to really promote nurses to kind of normalize that feeling of new anxiety. I'm new to this profession as being normal and okay. And if you need support, knowing to reach out and who to reach out to.
But I think, along those lines, the main problem for us as Black people is our mistakes are amplified. And then also we also amplify our mistakes because a mistake does not make you a bad person. Mistakes for us become a judgment of you as a person. You're a bad person. You're not fit to do this job, where everybody makes mistakes. And how our mistakes or how our lack of anything is perceived is different because it's intentional, because it's meant to psych you out.
It's funny you're saying that. I had this experience, and I'll never forget it because it was this horrible instructor. She was the type of instructor you can see she enjoyed, intimidating students. And I was in a predominantly white program. There was a handful of non-white students there. I would probably say a total of probably 8, 3 Asians and 4 Black women, 1 Asian guy, 2 Asian girls. And I think it was like 1 Hispanic young lady there. That was it. I mean, it was like everybody else was white and predominantly female. And it was one of those experiences where I felt like when it came onto this one instructor, all the other instructors, of course, you can feel that their exams or their approaches or their speech to you or communication with you could be a little harsh at times. But it was with this one particular instructor and that I had this experience where I felt like when it came specifically to the Black students, just the handful of us that was there, we kind of all dealt with her like, I just need to get through her clinical rotation and just be out of here. I was in a 2-year program at the time, and the second year was when, I had those clinical rotations with her. And she had this way with her where she would bring the nurses to the nurses station and she would review let's say she'll call 3 or 4 of us to the nurses station to review our documentation on our clients that we were assigned, the patients we were assigned. And she would, in front of each other, she would do this kind of like, oh, that's a good note. Oh, I'm glad you put that in there. I'm glad you put it in. Okay, don't forget to put that in there. So she'll give you the feedback like in front of those other student nurses that she pulled to the station. And I just remember with me, it was always, so why didn't you add this? So why didn't you add that? And it sounds like so like minor, but if you think about it, again, like I said prior, if you are coming into nursing school knowing that, yes, I want to be safe, I want to be responsible, I want to do my best, but I am new, I don't know all of this stuff. Why be harsh on someone about how they're documenting care? Even if you think documentation of care is the most important thing for them to master in clinical, and I get it, to have an approach where you are praising students and criticizing other students in front of each other, and what it does is it sets a tone, because now that's where the humiliation really comes in, because then it sets a tone for those other students to kind of deal with you that way. Again, I still can't understand why through a nursing program, whether it's a 1-year program, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, that in that time frame, you would actually have students going through the whole entire program, making the grades, excelling on the exams, but feeling different, having different feelings of inadequacies, feeling of humiliation or embarrassment to ask questions. And it's just amazing, because in that short span of time, there should be an expectation that you're going to go from not knowing to knowing, but not necessarily mastering until you are, working in that profession, maybe after 3 or 4 years. And don't start moving around in specialties, because you start moving around in specialties, you're going to be new the first day every time you go to that new place. And so I still, to the life of me, don't understand why that experience is something I hear. It doesn't matter where that nurse in the United States of America has completed that program. And even in your case where you did not have instructors that were non-Black, you still had that feeling of feeling like someone did not embrace you, make you feel like empower you to be successful and confident. Because at the end of the day, they want you to complete the program, but I don't know why it seems like they want some folks to complete the program and become a nurse and be confident. And some folks, they want you to complete the program and become a nurse and feel lucky.
Well, I don't think they want everybody to become a nurse. I don't think that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because if they can eliminate you, then they've won. And we know, as outside, because I've never understood it. And one thing that I'm very clear of as a man in nursing is I know that women in nursing have a whole different dynamic. Like, for a lot of women, nursing is an identity. Like for me, it never has been. So, and society deems nursing, especially female nurses, as something extra. So, taking all that into consideration, I know I've worked with plenty of people, or I've talked to people, even people who contact me about my coding program. They'll say, oh, well, I wanted to be a nurse, or I started in a nursing program 10 years ago, X number of years ago, and for one reason or the other, they weren't able to finish, or they failed, a course and never took it again. So it's that, like some of those people, like if they have been set up correctly, and I think that's another problem, especially in our community, because like I shared during my, being on the panel, basically, I only was able to successfully complete my nursing program because I'd already had a science background prior to. I already had advanced math prior to. So academically, they couldn't mess with me. I had no problem figuring out what was going on. You want to talk about, sodium chloride and potassium chloride? See, I had organic chemistry. I could eat that up all day long. I had, calculus. So doing drug calculations and IV drip rates is nothing. But to the person who comes from an average background, especially in our community, we know that a lot of our schools are underfunded, and it's not the same level of skill being taught. So you have these people who have come from backgrounds and they struggle with math, they struggle with science, and to have somebody beat them down for that only compounds the doubt, the self-doubt that they already have.
Very good. I understand that. That's a good point because, we do. I know for a fact that, of course, we have people coming into nursing programs and they will tell you about how difficult it was for them to even get into the program. Some folks taking the entrance exam over and over again, and you take it for granted if you took the entrance exam once and got into the program. And like you're saying, coming from those lower resource, educational backgrounds, yeah, of course, it's going to play out in nursing. And to your point, and that's another reason why they probably would filter wanting to pass certain people through, and then it's crazy because people who are not nurses hearing about this nursing shortage and also hearing about nurses who don't want to work at the bedside, it almost seems like, well, hold on. Well, at least let's stop these nurses who don't want to work at the bedside. Like, let's start making them feel guilty, or let's start asking them why they don't want to work at the bedside. And it's like, it's so much more in nursing. Like you pointed out a lot of issues even around, perceptions around gender, how women perceive it. And you are right. For a lot of women, it is a part of their identity. And so there's a lot that goes behind one staying in the profession, or what we do in the profession, and, satisfaction in the profession. Yeah. So all factors you have to consider. But again, it's a lot more complicated problem to solve when you're thinking about the nursing shortage issue, because there's so many different reasons why people come to the profession and so many different backgrounds that motivate one's or influences one's experience when they're in their different nursing programs, or even when they become, a nurse. And I know for me, I struggled with finding what I really liked, because it seemed like a profession that wanted something from me that I wasn't willing to give.
Right.
Especially traditional nursing role, going in the hospital, I just could not see the logic of being in a space where I would clock in and be in a space where I'm in that building, and people can hunt you down about what's going on with your patient and all that kind of stuff. And that's a beauty of nurses who work in hospitals or work in, in particular ICUs, or even working in med-surg, whatever area you work in the hospital, there's that, specialized knowledge you have being, with that patient, or having your patient, your patient, assignment, how many patients you have for that day, or how many patients on you're assigned to, whatever. Yeah, there's a lot to learn about time management, about professionalism, about just managing all of that. But for me, it just did not align with what I wanted to do. I found, again, I always talk about case management was something that I found align a lot more with my ideas around care coordination and keeping patients out of the hospital, or even advocating for patients. That made more sense for me to be working in a capacity of like, okay, well, where is your doctor? I haven't been able to get my medications. Okay, so, where's your pharmacy? Maybe your pharmacy is too far from you. Like, these are the kind of problems that I always appreciated solving for patients.
We want to hear from you. Schedule a free consultation or send us an email at advancednurses@acd4n.com, or visit our websites, www.advancednurses.info or www.acd4n.com.